शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर् श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरकृषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये मुह्यन्ति सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 26th chapter, verse number 33. These are teachings of Lord Kapila to his mother Devhuti, and he is describing Uttama Bhakti. In the previous verse, that is number 32, we read the definition of bhakti. Devanam gunalinganam anushavika karmanam sattva eva eka manusa vritti swabhavati, in which it was described that the natural functioning of the mind along with the senses in Lord Krishna, that is called Uttama Bhakti, that is called Bhagavati Bhakti, if it is animitta, without any motive, without any purpose to attain the end. Because if it has a purpose, then it will not be Uttama Bhakti. And the reason is that finally the person will give it up. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Manchayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan santittetam brahma bhuya kalpate. That if one worships me with avyabhichari bhakti, which means undeviated devotion, then such a person will become free from the three gunas of nature and become Brahman realized. Then he will give up bhakti. So here therefore he says that it is animitta, that bhakti is not done with any other motive except for the sake of bhakti, which means to please the object of love, the object of devotion. all the senses, they function for that. And Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained it from the point of view how in Sankhya it is described how the senses they make their vritti. So that vritti is in relationship with Sattva or Supreme Lord. And Jiva Goswami made it more clear that why it is called vritti, because vritti is material. So if this vritti itself is bhakti and vritti is material, then bhakti will become material. So he said that it's actually the transcendental potency or internal potency which superimposes over the senses, the mind, and also over the vritti, and because of their oneness, tadatmyatma. Because of their oneness, this name has been used here. So this is a very important point. Otherwise, this question can be raised that if it is vritti, then it is material. Because we are using material senses, our senses are material, mind is material, and we utilize them. And if our vritti means vyapar, which means activities. If the senses are material, their activities are also material. If mind is material, then its activity is also material. It's not that material mind is going to produce spiritual activity. So then all these activities which are called by the word vritti here, they are material, and if that is bhakti, even if it is without any motive, this bhakti is material. Then how it can be superior to moksha or liberation, which is beyond any material? So therefore, Jiva Goswami made this important explanation that it is called vritti only because of its relationship with the vritti, relationship of bhakti with the vritti in the sense of superimposition. So just like you take an iron piece and you put it in fire, then it becomes hot. So you can call that as fire, because fire and iron have become one. Actually two separate things. Iron does not become iron, iron does not become fire. But one is superimposed onto the other one. And then you can call it fire because of its function. Because it is performing the function of fire and not the function of iron. In the same way, it is called vritti because although the energy is coming, but we see the activities of the senses and the mind as they are performed otherwise. And the vritti is made. So then it is still called vritti. But it is not material vritti. So that must be understood clearly. Now in this verse number 33, he gives the effect of performing this. What actually happens. First is the definition, and in this verse he gives the influence it has on the person who is executing bhakti. What happens to that person? So animitta bhagavati bhakti siddher gariyasi jariyati asuya kosham nigirnam manalo yatha. So first is that this Bhagavati bhakti or devotion to the Supreme Bhagavan, Supreme Lord is animitta, causeless, and it is superior to moksha. This part of the verse was already commented in the previous verse. But the other half is remaining, which says that Jarati Asu Ya Kosham Nigirnam analoyatha. That very quickly this execution of bhakti as described here, it burns the kosha. Kosha means like a bag or a wallet. So that is called kosha. Wherever you store certain things, that is called kosha. So it burns the bag. And he gives an example. And literally burns, he says that it digests it. The word which he uses, digests. It digests it just like when you eat food, then your digestive fire digests the food you have eaten. Nigirnam analoyatha. Nigirna means which you swallow. So you swallow food, it goes into the stomach and then it gets digested there. So according to Ayurveda, there is digestive fire in the stomach. According to modern science, we have digestive juices, acids are released. There is type of fire, and that digests the food. So in the same way, our kosha gets digested by bhakti, by performing. So what is this kosha? This is the subtle body. Because subtle body is where things are stored. It's like a bag around the soul. Around the soul there is subtle body and then there is a gross body. And subtle body has all the wealth in it. Whatever you have been earning all your lives, so it is accumulated in the bag. Thank you. You have this gullak, what is gullak called in English? Where children keep the money.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Piggy bank. Yeah.
What is it called?
A piggy bank. Because in the West we used to have a pig.
Okay, piggy bank.
Piggy bank. Yeah.
Okay, in Hindi call it gullak because it is usually round, gold. So children have and they get few coins from somewhere, they drop it inside. And finally one day you break it and take it out. And it's made of mud and a small hole. You can just drop it, cannot take it out without breaking. So like that we have a piggy bag or piggy bank where we are dropping all our earnings. Some of them we use day to day and whatever is extra, that gets stored there. So when you perform bhakti, then it gets digested. That's why you get liberated. Because till the time there is going to be money in the piggy bank, you will continue to enjoy that money. So what bhakti does it, that it burns it. Then you are left with nothing except doing bhakti. There is nothing else you can do. No heaven, no hell. So no more birth. So therefore it says that Jariyati Ashu Yakosham Nigirnam Analoyatha. So as we eat food, then our food gets digested. So similarly bhakti digests this. So there is a very interesting commentary on this. Parasya Raganugayastu Jatya eva utkarsa udaharanam cha na karichiditi padyam. This part actually it would have been in the previous commentary only. He says that this, first he explained Vedhi Bhakti and he said that Vedhi Bhakti is superior by its quantity, not by its class. And Raganuga Bhakti is superior by the very class. It is a classical superiority. belongs to a different class. So we must know this very clearly that Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti, they are two different classes and they can never compete. Vaidhi can never compete with Raganuga, nor Vaidhi can ever turn into Raganuga. Because he says very clearly, Jatyaya Utkarso, that just by its very class category, it is superior. So there is bhav, there is prema in Vaidhi Bhakti as well as in Raganuga Bhakti. The same word is used, but the bhav of Vaidhi and bhav of Raganuga is not same. Or prema of Vaidhi and prema of Raganuga is not same. It is a different class. It's like we have human beings. All are human beings, but among human beings also there are different class. There are higher class, middle class, lower class. Everywhere they have class, not only in India. In India, of course, they were very strict about the class. But classes are there everywhere. And one class cannot be the other. It's not possible. So, therefore, he says that so utkars or superiority can be in two ways. One is by the quantity. When you have too much of something, then that is one type of superiority. Another is just by the class. Means even if it is small in quantity, it is still superior because it belongs to another class. Like if you have, say, diamond, and you have some other type of gem which also looks like diamond, but that is not pure diamond. It is made of plastic. Zircon. So zircon maybe mounts, you may have 1 kg of zircon, and then small piece of real diamond is still superior to that because it is different class. So therefore he says that this Raganuga tu Jatya eva utkar. So he has used the word tu and eva, and we know the significance of tu, that indicates separation, like you say, but Raganuga is superior by the very jati, by the caste. People don't like caste system, but he's saying that Raganuga belongs to a different caste, and Vaidhi belongs to a different caste. Jati means caste. And udaharanam cha na karhichediti padyam. And the example of this, because the example of Vaidhi he gave the 4 verses, 34, 35, 36, 37. An example of Raganuga is verse number 38, which we will read later on. So he has analyzed these verses afterwards, that some belong to Vaidhi Bhakti, some belong to Raganuga Bhakti, some belong to the prema. Then he says, aswabhavikyastu swabhavikibhyam sakashat pramanena jatya cha nikarsha udaharanam cha imam lokam tatheva anum ityadi. So if you remember, he spoke that there are 2 types of bhakti, swabhaviki and aswabhaviki, natural and not natural. And in the natural he made 2 categories. One was bhava and one was Raganuga. Because bhava comes from Vaidhi Bhakti, that is also natural. And Raganuga is natural to begin with. So he says that this, which is Aswabhaviki Bhakti, which means Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, is inferior to Swabhaviki, whether it is Swabhaviki Vaid Bhav Bhakti or Raganuga Bhakti, even Sadhana Raganuga Bhakti, both by Praman as well as by Jati. Because once in Vaidhi Bhakti you attain, then it is also another type of class from Sadhana to Bhav. Udaharanam cha imam lokam tathaevam. And the example of this is given in verse number 40. Imam Lokam, that is verse number 39 and 40. It says Paddadvayam Asya. So from now onward he comes to this verse. He says Api Bhakter Niskamatvad Anusamhitam Phalam Saiva Bhakti. Anusamhitam Phalam tu Moksha Tamaha Jariyati. So he says that bhakti has got two fruits. One is the fruit which is connected to it, which is in favor to it, which is related to it directly. And the other is which is the side effect of it. So he says that the connected fruit of bhakti is bhakti itself. And the side effect is moksha. But bhakti also gives moksha. So anusanghitam phalam saiva bhakti. The connected fruit of bhakti is that it gives more bhakti. If it is sadhana bhakti, it leads to bhava bhakti. If it is bhava bhakti, it leads to prema bhakti. And if it is prema bhakti, then it keeps you within bhakti. More prema. Anandam buddhi vardhanam. The ocean of bliss goes on increasing. And ananusanghitam phalam, that is moksha, liberation. So that comes along with it, without asking, without desiring. So now how does one get this moksha? That is being described in this part. Jarayati asu yakosham nigirinam anuloyatha. This is the process of becoming liberated. What does it mean really that bhakti gives liberation? And how does it happen? So this is what he has analyzed it so nicely. So he says, Ya bhakti kosham linga sariram jarayati. That this bhakti, it throws away, kshapayati, jarati means digests, here it means throws away, the linga sharira, the subtle body. There is sthula sharira, there is linga sharira, gross body, subtle body. Kincha jnana hetukan mokshad asya mokshasya drishtantenaiva lakshanyam ah. Now he says that there are two ways you can get moksha or liberation. One is you get moksha by the path of jnana yoga. Jnana leads to moksha. Another is that moksha which comes through bhakti without asking for it. So he says these two types of mokshas are not same. They are different types. Don't think that bhakti gives moksha which is same as which jnana gives moksha, then there will be no difference between the two. And then this idea that bhakti is superior to moksha will not make sense. So he says that this moksha which comes from bhakti without asking for it, and bhakti here means animitta bhagavati bhakti, that causeless devotion, where one is not asking for moksha but liberation, yet one will get liberation. So this liberation which God gives without asking is superior to the liberation which a jnani gets which he wants. Therefore, asking you always get less. Because when you ask in general, you are lucky if you get what you ask for. But in case of God, it is other way around, that if you don't ask Him, He will always give you more than what you can ask, because He has so much to give. And if you ask Him, then He gives this much. Especially if you are adamant, He still would like to give you more. He does that. But if you are fixed that you only want Brahman realizing, then He is bound. You have put your limits. So this says that jnana hetukan mokshad asya mokshasya drishtantena valakshana. That this moksha, liberation which comes from Bhagavati Bhakti is different from the liberation which comes from Jnana, and this has been shown here by an example. The example which he gives, Nigiranam Analo Yatha, or just as food is digested by the fire in the stomach. He says this example itself is showing this difference in liberation, and that he explains. He says Nigiranam Bhuktam Annadikam Analo Jatro Yatha Jariyati. He says just as when one eats the food, then the digestive fire digests it. But how does it digest it? Says that there are two things it does. It does not digest the whole thing. Means that nothing is remaining. Sahi jatranalo deha pushti anyathanupatte bhuktasya annader asaransam eva jarayati saranshena tu pranendriyadini sapta dhatunscha pushyati. There is one type of inference. It is called anyathanupapatti. Anyathanupapatti means that you see some effect, and by seeing the effect you infer the cause. Usually you see the cause and you know the effect. Here you see the effect and you infer the cause because you don't see the cause. And the common example is that Pino Devadatto Devana Bhunkate Ratram Bhoji Pinatvat. That there is a fat Devadatta. Devadatta is fat. He does not eat. Nobody sees him eating. In daytime no one sees. But he is fat, that means he eats at night. This is inference. Otherwise, how can he maintain his fatness? He must eat at night. So this is called anyathanupapatti nyaya. That there is no other way to understand it, then you are forced to infer like that. So he says that when we eat food, then our body gets nourished. You have all this experience, eat food, body is nourished. Now there is no other way to explain this nourishment of the body except that this nourishment is coming from the food which we have eaten. But we also know that food we eat and everything does not remain inside, something is that we throw out. And because something we throw out, we also cannot say that we throw out everything. That's why he is using this inference, because we don't throw out everything, because if everything was thrown out then there will be no nourishment to the body, but because nourishment is there, therefore we assume that something is taken out from it and something is rejected. So some essential energy is taken out from the food and unessential part is shown the gate. Right? So he says that Jatranalo Deha Pushti Anyathanupatter Bhuktasya Annader Asaran Sameva Jarayati, that only the unessential part is thrown out. Saranshe tu pranendriyani sapta dhatunsu pushyati. But with the essential part, it nourishes the life hair, the senses and the 7 dhatus. Ayurveda accepts that there are 7 dhatus in our body. And there is blood, there is skin, there is bones, there is marrow, there is fat, and plasma, and there is semen, which is the last one. So all these things, they get nourished by the food. And yena eva ojah saho balwan deho bhavati. And because of that only body has physical strength, mental strength, and the prowess or glow, nice appearance. Tatheva, so he says that bhakti also does exactly in the same way. He is using this example. In case of mukti, when mukti is there in the case of by jnana, then everything is thrown away. Nothing remains except the soul. It's like you eat the food and you have a diarrhea. And everything comes out. So finally even the body, you will die and only the soul will remain. So you get liberated. It happened in my ashram long ago. Once one Babaji, old Babaji, he had a constipation for a long time and the doctor came and gave him medicine and it didn't cure. So he gave him a double dose and that night he really had it. And whole night, because I was serving him, he was very old in the 90s, and whole night he was having diarrhea. And by morning he died. He just collapsed. So that was mukti. No nourishment, everything going out. That is the Gyan marg. That you get liberated and then only the soul remains, nothing around it. But the mukti which comes from bhakti is not like that. It is nice, your body gets nourished and what is not wanted that you throw away. So that is how you get your siddha deha. Not that you are just the soul, you also get your spiritual body and you give up the material body. So that is the process. So he is describing that now, that Bhagavat sambandhina shabdadin prakritan stan indriyadin bhaktir maikan eva shabdadin tat karana kartradin se saransan eva jarayati natu saransan Bhagavat sambandhina shabdadin. So he says that when a person is performing bhakti, then he is chanting, he is doing kirtan, doing worship, engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. So then this bhakti, what it does that it only kicks out the material sound, material objects which are related with the material senses, in the material senses. Sabdadins, tant, karan, kartradis. And the material senses and the material ahinkara, which is the karta. Prakriti kriyamanani guni karmani sarvasya ahankara vimudhatma karta hamiti manyate. So that karta, that ahankara, all these things are material. This is the rejectable part. And the sound and objects, other touch, everything which is related with this, that is digested or thrown away. That is the asar, that is the unessential part. Natu saransan, not the essential part, which is Bhagavat sambandhina shabdadin prakritan stan indriyadin se jarayati. Not the shabda, senses, etc., which are in relationship with the Lord. So prakritan stan indriyadin se jarayati. He says the material senses are also thrown away. That is the kosha. Because kosha has subtle body, that's where all these things are lying. So chakshusha is chakshur, utsrotrasya srotram ityadi srute. Because in Shruti it is said that it is the eye of the eye and the ear of the ear. Means we have these eyes, and there is an inner eye inside. So that one remains, or that one gets nourished, or that is the one which develops. So therefore it says yaireva bhaktanam deha siddho bhavati. So it is by that the body of the devotees becomes siddha deha. That now there is no more material senses. Even though this physical body is there, then it becomes spiritualized. Therefore it will not function for material cause anymore. अतएव मायिको असारांश एव लिंग कोशो देहेन्द्रियादि शब्दै शास्त्रेषु उच्यते. Therefore he says it is only the mic or material which is the asaransa, unessential part, that is called linga kosha here in the scriptures, or by the body, senses, word, etc. And that which is beyond that, the spiritual body, then this word is not used for that. Therefore there is this verse, Dehendriyasu Hinanam Vikuntha Purvasinam. This is the verse from 7th Canto. You have the number?
7:135.
This is a verse which was asked by Yudhishthira Maharaj. Question which was raised by King Yudhishthira to Narada Muni when he was telling them the story of Jain Vijay. That Jain Vijay fell down from the Vaikuntha to here. So he asked that Dehendriyasu Hinanam Vaikuntha Purvasinam Deha Sambandha Sambandham Etad Akhyatam Arasi. That these residents of Vaikuntha, they don't have a body, they don't have senses, they don't have life here. So how is that they got relationship with this? So there when it is said that they don't have body, they don't have senses, they don't have, this means they don't have material body, material senses, material life here. So how did they get the material body? He says, I would like to know this. So the question. So he is quoting the statement to say that in the scriptures when the words usually are used, linga, kosha, all this, it is only in relationship with the material. And with that intention only Yudhishthira Maharaj has asked this question. Otherwise the question does not make sense. If they don't have a body, then how they can be residents? Because it says Dehendriyasu Hinanam Vaikuntha Purvasinam, that the residents of Vaikuntha who are devoid of body, mind, senses. If they are devoid of body, mind and senses, then how do they live? So it means that they don't have material body and senses. Like sometimes people come here from the west and say there is no food here, because they don't get the food of their choice. For them food is what they like to eat. And if you give them dal, chapati, rice every day, he says, what is this? There is no food. So they even write back that there is no food here. I'm starving. So this is a usage in the limited sense. When he is using the word deha, indriya, it means material body, material sense. Then, so this is one thing. So he says that this is how one gets siddha deha. Then he says, yathacha purusha prayatnam vinayeva jatharo agnir bhuktannadikam jarayati yena prakarena jarayati tam prakaram cha purusho na janati. It's very interesting. You see, inference is very important. You may not like it. So he says that just as when a person eats food, then he does not make a conscious effort to digest it. He does not make any conscious effort that I will digest my food, I lie down in the bed, and now I'm digesting my food. Somebody comes and asks you, what are you doing? Well, I'm digesting my food. So in Spain they do that, right? They have siesta. After eating, then you sleep. You're digesting your food. So Italy also they have siesta. Siesta is Italian word or Spanish?
Spanish.
Spanish.
After dinner. Yeah, they go to sleep. But they call it penichella.
2 or 3 hours.
No, less.
Yes, in Spain, yes.
In Spain,
People
in
do
Italy,
It takes that long to digest. It takes at least 3 hours to digest food. You cannot digest in half an hour. It's a big job. So he said that just as we digest our food, we don't make any conscious effort to digest it. and that we are doing anything. It happens. And we are not thinking that this part will be utilized to nourish my body, this part will be thrown out. So it just happens. Since we don't even know, Purushona Janati, we have no idea how it is happening. You study in the book, that is another thing, you understand. But otherwise, you have no idea how the food is going and what is getting mixed up, how it is getting digested, and how the reject matter is moving down, how we are getting energy. We have no idea. So he says that in the same way, mokshartham kimapi ayatmanam shravana kirtanadikam eva nityam kurvanam tan madhuri aswadavantam bhaktajanam bhakti sansaran mochayati. He says in the same way, a bhakta, a devotee, he is always engaged in hearing, chanting, etc. and thus tasting the sweetness of the Lord, engaged in bhakti. Then bhakti delivers or liberates the devotee from the samsara without him doing anything. He is not making any effort to become liberated. He is not asking for it. He doesn't even say that please liberate me. He doesn't think about it. So he says, then bhaktastu kena prakarena kada me bhuktira bhutiti nanusannati. So therefore a devotee does not even know how and when he got liberated. The process goes on. He does not think about it or meditate or try to understand it. Yad vakshate, as it will be said later on, tvat padapotena mahatkritena kurvanti govatsa padam bhavabdhi. He says that the devotees who make your feet as the ship, then they make this material world like the hoof print of the cow. It means it becomes so small to them that they don't even need to cross it over. So he will give a very nice explanation. He says, Pathi gacchata punso gospad langhana anusandhanam yatha na bhavati tathaiti. So suppose you are walking on the road. Of course on the road there is no mark of the cows, but in India when there used to be cows in the villages and the roads were muddy roads, when the cows are walking they make an impression, and suppose the rain comes and little water fills up in that depression made by the hoof of the cow. Now if you are walking, you don't make any conscious effort that you have to cross it, otherwise you can drown in it. Right? Nobody drowns in the water of a water contained by the mark of the cow's hoof print. So just as a devotee, just as a person walking on the road does not consider crossing over this little depression made in the earth filled with water, he just walks. So in the same way, a devotee does not consider, think or care about liberation or crossing over this material world. It just happens. That is the meaning that Govats Padam Kurvanti Bhavabdi. That this ocean of the material world, which is ocean, it becomes like small impression of the hoof print of cow by performing bhakti to the feet of the Lord. Tathaiti, so in the same way, Bhaktanam Tribhumika Brahmagyana Bhave api. And devotees who do not even have knowledge of Brahmagyan, which has 3 levels. Then he quotes this verse, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo na Medhya na Bhuna Shrutena Yameva Esha Grunute Tena Labhya Tasesha Atma Vigunute Tanum Swam Iti Shruter Bhagavat Karunyad Bhaktya Tad Rupa Guna Lila Ashwarya Madhurya Anubhava Rupa Jnanadeva moksha. So he says, as it is said, I think this is a verse from Kathopanishad. Is it Kathopanishad?
Mundaka.
Mundaka. So in the Mundaka it is said that the Lord is not available by giving lectures, Mayam Atma Pravasnena Labhya, nor by intelligence, nor by hearing, means becoming learned. Yameva Esha Vrunute Tena Labhya. Only a person who is blessed or chosen by the Lord Himself, only such a person can attain the Lord. Tasya Esha Atma Vivrunute Tanum Swam. To such a person, Lord reveals Himself, His own form. So it is only by His grace that it happens, there is no other cause. So it says, according to this statement from the Shruti, Bhagavat Karunyad Bhaktya, says, by the grace of the Lord through devotion, Tad Rupa Guna Leela Ashwarya Madhurya Anubhav Swarup Jnanadeva Moksha. Moksha comes only through the knowledge of realizing the form, etc., the qualities, pastime, Ashwarya, all these things of the Lord, then that itself gives moksha. Means there is no need that one has to develop vairagya and jnana and then moksha will come. That is not necessary. So then there is a statement which is a very famous statement, and it is a very favorite statement of Advaitvalis, Brahmavalis. Tameva viditva ati mrityumeti. Literally it means that only knowing Him one transcends death. So people use this statement to prove that without jnana there is no bhakti. Vritya jnanat na bhakti. But what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, that yes, jnana is there, but this jnana is of the Lord, realizing Him. Another popular statement, Rite Jnana na Mukti. Without Jnana there is no Mukti. But that Jnana is not the impersonal Jnana, that is the Jnana of the Lord. That's why it says Tam Eva Viditva. Only after knowing Him. This Eva is very important. Without knowing Krishna, no one can become liberated. Therefore it says Mam Chayo Avyabhicharana Bhakti Yogena Sevate. Gunan Sankirtya Kyan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. One can become liberated only by doing bhakti. Otherwise, forget it. So, Aruya Krutshena Param Padam Tata Patanti Adha Anadriti Yusmadamkaya. Those who disrespect the feet of the Lord, then they fall down wherever they are. And they become very elevated and may become even Jivan Muktas, and they will come down. There is no ultimate mukti. So therefore it says that eva karena muktau tasyeva jnanasya karnatvena uktis tas jnanam cha ukta prakarakam eva. So it says that here it is said very clearly that this mukti is only by the jnana of the Lord, only after having the experience, realization of the Lord, not otherwise. So, and this jnana is of this type only, which is described here. Rupa Gun Lila Ashwarya Madhurya Anubhav Rupa Jnanati. This knowledge is not some other impersonal type of knowledge, but knowledge in the form of knowing, experiencing the form, qualities, activities of the Supreme Person. That type of knowledge. And only that will give the mukti. Even if one wants mukti. Devotee is not interested in that. He gets it. That's why he says that is ananusamhitam phala. Not desired explicitly, that comes without asking for. And those who want mukti, they also have to perform bhakti. Otherwise, why God will give them? Mukti is not happening naturally. It is not some mathematical equation that you supply the parameters, then the result is coming. No, it's under the control of the Lord, under the jurisdiction of the Lord. So without His acknowledgement, without knowing Him, Mukti is also not possible. And Lord Kapila will describe it in great detail later on. That even if one wants Mukti, then how to get it. So this is a very important point of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is not understood by the Advaitavadis. That Mukti is not possible in order to. Because whatever you do without Bhakti is material. And how material things can take you out of matter. Cause and effect relationship. If the cause is material, then effect is material. Because effect is cause itself. So they have a famous answer for it. They will say that if you are bound by the gunas here and you are renouncing, so how can you get out by your renunciation and your activity? If you are dreaming and you are in the dream, so how you get out of it? So they have a very clever answer. Of course, one answer is that when you are performing the sadhana, then you attain knowledge, renunciation, and that knowledge gives you experience, and that burns everything. Just like you take, one of the examples they give is that you take medicine. So medicine cures, and medicine also gets digested in the process. Of course, medicine does not get digested completely, something comes out, then they forget. But the other example they say is that you are sleeping and you are dreaming. So when you are dreaming, then what will happen, that you see a tiger in the dream, and the tiger is running behind you, and then he comes very close to you, and you get terrified and you wake up. So I say that this dream tiger has got you out of the dream. The tiger is the dream tiger, and that got you out of the dream. So in the same way, these activities, they may be material, but they can get you out of it and you become Brahman. How do you like that clever answer? But again the problem comes that the tiger, the guy has experienced in the wakeful state, and he's scared of that when he's awake, and that scare is also there when he's dreaming. Otherwise, why is he scared? The tiger is not real, he will not be scared, but he has had a real experience or knowledge, and there is a real fear in his wakeful state, and that's the reason he wakes up, not otherwise. So the reason to wake him up is still coming from outside. Not that you are in the matrix and you can get out by yourself. But it's a very interesting example. So therefore he says that only by knowing him, and it does not say knowing that. The thing is that here the word is used tam tameva viditva ati mrityumeti. So tam is a masculine gender and not a neutral gender. The word Brahman, you know that nouns in Sanskrit they have their genders. So Brahman is a neutral gender, and now he can drink. So Brahman is a neutral gender and Bhagavan is a masculine gender. So if they have to say that you get realized by knowing Brahman, then they would have said Tadeva Viditva. But here it says Tam Eva Viditva, means knowing only Bhagavan and not Brahman. So therefore, without bhakti there is no liberation. This is the conclusion. So there is something more remaining that we will do tomorrow. Let's talk a little more about Raganuga and sadhana bhakti. If there is any question on this.
Two small points. I didn't totally understand that statement about the quantity of Vaidhi Bhakti. It's superior by quantity. In which regard quantity? Why is there more quantity?
Means you perform your activities, engage your mind, your body, your senses, then that is its strength. But not just by the class. Because what happens is that if you know the distinction between Vaidhi sadhana and Raganuga sadhana, is that in Raganuga there is a natural attraction. And in Vaidhi there is not natural attraction. So the consciousness is that really what makes the difference, because we have been talking about the consciousness. So in Raganuga, the consciousness is there naturally. Now that is another thing, that there because of the consciousness you are also going to perform it. So naturally there will be more quantity also, because when you like something you do it also more. But in Vaidhi that consciousness is not there, and that's what he means by jati basically. When you say that this belongs to a different jati or different class, it means that only. That. What is the difference? The activities are same in Vaidhi as well as in Raganuga. You do arti there, you make offering, you sing, you chant, do kirtan, or even if you are doing meditation, they are all same, you read Bhagavatam. But the distinction comes in the inner consciousness. So Raganuga is superior because of its class, and then later on he says that it is superior class and as well as Praman. Because when class is there and this is consciousness, then Praman is also there. The other person may not do it or may not be able to do it because the mind is not fixed or he is disturbed or anything. So there the greatness comes only if you do it more. Your father.
You can
Decline or reply?
And just to clarify, the Siddha Deha, the purified body, does that mean can it still be a material body which is spiritualized, or is it?
Yeah, it's this material body which is spiritualized. That is one thing, and of course there is Siddha Deha, spiritual body. Also there.
But even while still alive, one can have Siddha Deha because it's fully spiritualized.
Yeah, this body is also called Siddha Deha
Okay.
in that sense, because now it does not move to the activities which are not related with bhakti. Because the mind, senses, everything becomes spiritualized in that sense. That's why this is the reason that we have this custom of making samadhi. Because samadhi means full absorption, basically. So, we are in samadhi. Yes, Tim.
When they talk about moksha here, is it similar to what they talk about in the Yoga Sutras of
No, that is, the moksha of bhakti is different than the moksha of Yoga Sutra.
So you're in this moksha, are you not becoming released from the gunas?
Yeah, you become released from the gunas.
So gunatita is...
Yeah, you become gunatita, but what happens that you get a body which is also gunatita. And with that body you continue to serve the Lord in spiritual world. You become an associate of the Lord and you get a body which is gunatita.
The body is also...
Yeah. In case of Yoga Sutra moksha, there is no gunatita body.
Right.
You get rid of the deha, material body, which is within the gunas, but then you don't get anything more. So simply the soul remains without any function. That's why I gave the example yesterday, that it's like putting the car in the garage and locking it. So it just doesn't, it's not used for anything. You don't suffer and you don't engage in any spiritual activity also.
But
So
if,
therefore there is only removal of the misery. Really speaking, there is no ananda. Therefore the Yoga Sutra only talks about the kleshas and then how to get rid of it.
if the yogi continues Ishvara Pranidhana in that state of Kaivalya, isn't it possible that he can develop from
Yeah,
that?
it is possible. And process is same. Now when Kapila is going to explain when Bhakti Yoga or the Yoga, the process is exactly same what Patanjali has given. Only thing is that for what are you doing? So if right from the beginning your goal is that I want to attain the Lord, then you follow the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Yam Niyam Asana Pranayam, you will attain Lord, not impersonal liberation. But in the Yoga Sutra he has not described it like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Raganuga is always superior, even in its beginning stages.
Yeah. It's always superior.
The point of subtle bodies being destroyed. So when we perform devotion, activity or thought in the service, favorable service to the Lord, this happens automatically. Like we don't think about it. When the food is digested, we don't think about it, it's happening. But we were saying that the spiritual body is also developed, means that
Means this body gets spiritualized.
so this
Now
senses,
your mind, your body, your senses, your subtle body, they are going to function for spiritual cause.
yeah. So then they become spiritualized. But they are the
That's
same
what
senses.
That is the meaning, that they
Okay.
get spiritualized.
But then you say also that there is this kind of development of inner eyes, inner senses. And this is what I want to ask, these inner senses. They
These
are,
senses are inside in this linga sarira,
yeah.
subtle body. This is the meaning. They get develop. You can call it development. You can call it purification. Whatever words you want to use.
So then the purification means that you swap, how you say?
Switch.
You switch from material activities meant for the sense enjoyment or whatever, selfish, into this giving to the Lord, basically.
Right.
So this is the only difference. And because the concepts change, the whole thing's changing. But the senses are remaining the same. They are the same.
Because you are still living in the same body.
So then, okay. Okay. But the confusion was that the senses, the subtle body, which is contain all this information coming from the senses, and they have always functioned for material things, basically, in a conditioned soul. So, let's say now, I give an example. With material eyes, I look at material picture. How can be this spiritual?
So it is spiritual because of the purpose.
Because of the purpose.
And then you will see it in relationship with Vasudeva.
With Vasudeva. Means that Vasudeva comes into the...
Yes. Sarvabhutasya yapasya bhagavad bhavam atman. Definition is given who is called Uttam Bhakta. That means he sees the Bhagavad Bhav in everybody. So, Savai Bhagavatottama. And he is called the Uttam Bhagavat. So, this question of changing the Bhav, that's what Bhakti is about. That's why Rupa Goswami says that you perform sadhana bhakti and then you get bhav bhakti. So getting bhav bhakti means now your bhav had changed. Sarvabhutesu yapasya bhagavad bhavam atmane bhutani bhagavati atmane yesha bhagavatottama. So your vision, your consciousness, your awareness changes. And then because of your consciousness you see things differently. There is a statement in Sanskrit, Atmavat manyate jagat. That one sees the universe as one is oneself. But whatever type of glasses you are wearing, then you see things accordingly. So your chitta is like the glass, because the soul is behind it. So whatever is in the chitta, through that only you are seeing the world. Therefore, that is we use the word heart or the bhav is there. So if there is a Bhagavad Bhav there, then everything you see is Bhagavad in relationship with Bhagavad Bhav. That's why Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that Yo pasyati mam sarvatra sarvam cha mai pasyati. Who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me. Vasudevam sarvamiti sa mahatma sundara. So Isa vasyamidam sarvam. All this is covered by the Lord, or it is belonging to Him. So this is a vision, this is a bhav, which we don't have at present. Now we are seeing things only with one bhav, that something which I can enjoy and something which I have to give up. It's only two. Raga and Dvesha. It's only two bhav. There is avidya first, ignorance, and then comes asmita, I am this body. And as soon as you say I am this body, then two things come. There is a raga and there is a dvesha. Something you like, you are attached, and something you hate, you dislike. Then you see everything with this glass. Like sometimes people have this glass which are both far sight and short sight. So they are seeing like this when they see, and when they read this will look like this. So they have two bhav. One is short-sightedness and one is far-sightedness. But it is not the normal sightedness. So then we see everything with that intention only. Even when we are not conscious of it, it is happening naturally. It is very subtle. This is the deepest psychology of human being, if you want to see. This raga and dvesha. Of course, if you go on analyzing further and further, then it comes to asmita and avidya. But at avidya you cannot analyze anything, it's just avidya. So therefore you analyze raga dvesha, and then raga dvesha manifest in so many ways. Then all kind of phobias, neuroses, this problem, stress, anxiety, these are all children of these two. So when you analyze, you go to the root cause and you come to these two, raga and dvesha, and that's what everybody is full of. So there cannot be peace in this world unless you get to know. Therefore, this Bhagavad Gita statement are so profound and deep when Krishna says, Nasti buddhi ayuktasya, na chayuktasya bhavana. He is using the word bhavana, which comes from the same word bhava. That one who is an ayukta means not linked. Yukta comes from the same word as we have yoga, use dhatu, to join. So ayukta means not joined, not linked, means then he has no bhavana. He has no God consciousness. So how can he have? And nacha bhavayatah shanti. And one who does not have this bhavana, he cannot have shanti. There is no peace for him. Because he will be troubled by ragandvesa, day and night. He will never leave. And if there is no shanti, then there is no happiness.
You were describing how that the devotee doesn't ask for liberation, but it just happens automatically without knowing it. Then how can the devotee understand that they are becoming liberated or liberated? Is there any way to tell?
Because they are engaged in devotion, their mind is not deviating from that.
Okay.
That is naturally is beyond liberation. What is liberation? What do you understand from the word liberation?
It's free from the material, freedom from that.
Yeah, so if you are engaged in bhakti, will you not know that where is your heart?
So even a devotee who is liberated, right, still they experience, really directly experience, but still they go through the sufferings of the body from being in the material world, the body from the material world.
Yeah, because body
Okay.
still feels, does not become dead. Senses are there.
So the point of distinction is fixity of the consciousness.
Yes.
He says the subtle body is burnt up. Does that imply that the karmas and the samskaras?
The samskaras are deactivated or removed, cleaned. So then they are not effective anymore.
But the karma that we bring with the subtle body into all of our lives, that goes away as well?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
So that goes on. Because this karma is related with the samskaras.
Mhm.
They are not two independent things, they are interlinked.
So what's the situation then with the prarabdha karma? That remains as it is?
No, everything goes on. Prarabdha. Kut, Bij, Papam, Phalonmukham, Krameneva Pralayante. They all become dissolved.
So then let's say such a liberated devotee gets a cancer, for example.
Yeah, so that is not considered as prarabdha karma. That is God arranging it. He has purpose why he is doing it. Karma does not have power anymore to function in such a person. So that's why I'm saying that externally he will look same. Maybe even suffering more than a normal person. Sometimes Krishna does that to scare people. So, but that is not because it is arranged by the law of karma. Even if he has a cancer, it is not by the arrangement of law of karma.
What kind of devotee does that apply to? Whether the Bhakta who's beginning. Right, so you've got the Kanishta, the Madhyama, and the Uttama, so
Well, the complete karma, everything is finished when one is at the level of bhava.
so before
That
the
is the
level of
meaning, that is the
bhava,
meaning of swabhaviki. Consent.
before the level of bhava, a devotee who is suffering a disease, it may not totally be the arrangement of
It's
the
very
Lord.
difficult to say, to
It's not
analyze
saying
like
may
that.
not.
You see, these things are not black and white as you are thinking. It also depends on the consciousness of the devotee, how he is thinking, how he is taking it.
What
What
needs
is
to
in
be
mind.
changed in the heart.
What about particular character traits or such things within the personality of a devotee? There's so many, every devotee is an individual person, and they have so many, sometimes even very unusual character traits. How do you see
And
this?
then you
Is
can
this
only
part
say
of their-
that this is how Krishna wants it.
That's how Krishna wants them to be?
Yeah. And it is actually quite interesting that how devotees behave, and it is not just one standard way and this is how it is going to be, because the way it develops, and even Rupa Goswami says this in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he says that I have given one way on this Adu Shraddha Tata Sadhu Samyata Bhajan Kriya, but later on he says that it is not the only way, there could be many other ways that it can happen. Because ultimately, as we've been reading everywhere, that it is the grace of Krishna. You can take somebody from Shraddha directly to Prema. You can keep someone at the Nishta platform for a long time. Because he has his plan also. What he wants to do and what he... It is very difficult to say, but from the scripture we understand the general procedure. And in specific cases can be specific behavior, specific situations, specific way of dealing.
If Krishna is doing that, keeping somebody, for a long time in a low level, or raising somebody immediately, since Krishna is equal to everyone, could we say that also relates to the person's approach to Krishna, or there must be some kind of relation, right? Some kind of relation between Krishna's action and the person's behavior.
Yes. It also depends how the person is endeavoring and what is lying in his chitta. So he sees what is the best way to bring it up. Sometimes to do it quickly, maybe just a shock to his system. So he prepares.
Short taste.
The body gets burned, subtle body, and transcendentalized. But this is not really important, no? The importance is when your spiritual master reveals to you the transcendental form, then you know you made it.
This also goes on side by side. Giving does not mean that you get it. Even if he gives, he only reveals to you. And you have to do sadhana for that.
In that particular mood.
Yeah. It's not that you just get the body and that's it.
And how does he know the spiritual master?
That Krishna reveals to him. When Krishna wants to give, then he reveals this to him. So ultimately it is Krishna. Okay. So, stop. Krishna.